Imagine seeing Bitcoin at 12 or 10,000. Everyone's going to start to doubt, like, will Bitcoin survive? Can it survive? That's when you actually, as an investor, need to start thinking about really buying into it.
In this video, Gareth Soloway will offer a fresh Bitcoin price forecast that might make you wealthy if you act on it when it occurs. Gareth Soloway, Chief Market Strategist and CFO of nthmoneystocks.com, has been a trader for over 20 years and has become an expert in charts and fresh forecasts. It is critical to understand when to purchase and sell your cryptocurrency, such as Bitcoin, BTC, or Ethereum, ETH. Gareth feels that Bitcoin will break higher and begin the next crypto surge. That is Gareth Soloway's most recent Bitcoin price projection for 2022. And he even claims to have purchased Bitcoin and that there is a lot of potential right now on BTC, either long or short, so pay close attention. Gareth has been a pro trader for more than 20 years. He devoted his early professional years to the study of technical charts. He developed his own trading strategies using his own money, including the confirmation signal, three-tail theory, river theory, cycle analysis, and a keen sense of market mood and timing. Make a comment, subscribe and like the video. See you soon.
So, I mean, per the last Federal Reserve meeting a few weeks ago, we basically had a little bit more of a dovish Federal Reserve tone, right? So they raised the 75 basis points, which is what the market expected. But in the conference, it was a little bit more dovish. That created this massive move up in the tech sector. We saw stocks and the S&P just rip higher, right? Now, interestingly enough, we got the jobs report this morning, right? So the non-farm payrolls came out. It came out over 500,000 new jobs. And that kind of made the markets freak out a little bit because I think the markets had thought the Federal Reserve was almost done raising, if not done, and expected a weaker jobs report to kind of confirm that they were on the sidelines. With this better than expected jobs report, I think it puts September in play for at least 25 basis points, maybe 50 basis points. And that has the market again a little bit uneasy that the Fed is just going to keep tightening monetary supply. Now, for me personally, I think that the jobs numbers are lagging. So I think that, again, you're going to see more and more weakness coming in the coming months. So maybe the Fed raises in September a little bit, but I really do believe that's it. I think that'll be all that there will be, because I do think we'll be in a defined recession. I mean, even now with the GDP numbers, you could say, yeah, we're in a recession, but the jobs numbers kind of go against that. But I do think by end of year, there's no doubt about whether or not it's a recession. So, yes, it's going to come down. We can see the price of oil. We can see the price of gasoline. All of those are cratering. That's going to help bring inflation down, but it's not going to take it back to like 2% or sub 2%. So what that's going to do is it's going to basically put handcuffs on the Fed, where when we enter a recession, they're not going to be able to just print us out right away. Now, I do think a year from now, we could be in such a bad recession with let's say, inflation at 4%. And if we have unemployment, let's say at 8% or 10%, then yes, that's the lesser of the two evils, and that would be to print money again and try to get us out of that. So it's a tricky road here. The market is not understanding that the Fed has its hands tied yet, and I think that's going to be the next shoe to drop later this year, like November, December, when the markets are like, oh, look, we're in a recession. Fed, please come save us. And the Fed's going to say, guys, inflation's at 4 or 5% still. We can't print money and save the day. And then you see the next big market flush. But basically what you've had is ever since we pierced that initial pierce of the 2017 highs here, we've seen Bitcoin kind of go up a little bit, come down, up, down, and basically going sideways to slightly higher. So I'm inclined to think that in the near term, we continue to see that price action. I kind of expect one more move up here, maybe in the Bitcoin chart, hitting 25,500. There's a small chance we could get up to resistance at 28 and change. But ultimately, I think that later this year, when that shoe drops, that the Fed can't save the day, and it causes a big risk reduction, right? You have a risk-off environment. We know that Bitcoin goes down in a risk-off environment. Once the stock market investors realize that, it's going to filter through to crypto. And I do think there's still one more leg lower before we finally get a bottom. And I'm still pricing in really a target price of around $13,000 to $12,000 on that next flush. You know, the easy way for us to tell is to look at this channel, right? So see this upsloping the bottom line, that's kind of keeping price in check. As long as price stays in here, I think you favor neutral to upside, maybe here or here. But if you break this line, this is a definitive trend line connecting all these lows, that's where I think you start to flush. You'll probably get a small bounce at the previous 2017 high and then eventually break through that. So I think, again, yeah, short-term neutral to positive on Bitcoin from here. And then again, later this year, you got to expect one more flush out. And it probably will be the nastiest and the worst in terms of fear, because always the end of cycles are the scariest, right? Where things, you know, imagine seeing Bitcoin at 12 or 10,000. Everyone's going to start to doubt, like, will Bitcoin survive? Can it survive? That's when you actually, as an investor, need to start thinking about really buying into it. So I think the narrative right now is, and what's interesting for me is that you can see the kind of the angle on Bitcoin's been very sideways to slightly up. It's not been vertical bouncing. And I think part of that, and what's interesting is if you look at the NASDAQ's really ripped up, and those usually coincide. So a lot of people have been saying, well, why hasn't Bitcoin had a big move up like the NASDAQ instead of just going slightly up sideways? And I think the answer there is that, you know, with Celsius and Voyager and all these other ones, you have a lot of money that's just scared. Like, you know, who wants to put their money in with these brokers and be in crypto when who knows what the next shoe to drop is, which broker is going to go under, which one's going to file for bankruptcy. So I think that's kind of keeping a lid on the upside price in Bitcoin as well. But I think later this year, that narrative is going to shift to that panic sell-off. And I do think the final flush out will be something major. I don't know if it's Michael Saylor and MicroStrategy's finally throwing in the towel and dumping their Bitcoin at like 10,000. Maybe we see a bigger broker go bankrupt. I mean, all these possibilities are there, but I do think more is going to happen before you get an ultimate bottom. So what's interesting about the 2017 cycle is you kind of had this period where we had the big dump out, and then you had this lots of chop for a while, which could be what we're doing right now. I'm not sure, but you know, that would make sense if it were to go till like October, November. And then you had this final flush out. And then notice how it took a while for it to kind of digest before finally starting to make that next move up. So again, if you look at this final flush, it kind of bottomed out in December of 2018. And then the next move up, you could arguably say, kind of started in April. So my guess is you have about 6 months of chop around the lows where you have people that are saying, this is the worst. And then you have people that are nibbling, maybe smart money starting to buy down there. And you get that kind of exchange where neither side is winning. They're just exchanging shares from people that are fearful with people that are buyers and saying, okay, this is the right time to accumulate. So my guess is, yeah, you'll see usually bottoms, you'll see a lot of chop as the bottom is made. Yeah, so I think, like, you know, for me, number one is I think that Ethereum is going to survive. You know, I think it's got enough built on it where it's going to survive. The question is, how low does it go? And I think, you know, again, in terms of the chart, what's amazing about the chart is we have hit resistance here on Ethereum. You can see these pivot lows right here. And then look at exactly where price went. It pulled back. Now it's trying to break through there. If it does break through there, maybe we get up to this 2,000 level. Maybe an off chance we get to this downsloping line, which connects all the recent highs. But the bottom line is, to me, this is just an interim rally before another leg lower. And the key is, where are we going to go? And my guess is you're looking at like $650 or so. I think that would coincide nicely with the 12 to 13,000 level on Bitcoin. So I do think, again, you have that potential downside, but this is, again, one that I think will survive. So it's one that I'm very interested in kind of hodling at the right levels. I don't have any yet. I was actually going to buy my first one at like 830 right here. There was this little pivot point right here, and it just never got there. It never got there, so I didn't get filled. But the bottom line is, as a trader, you learn very quickly that you'll miss a bunch of trades, and that's okay, because there's always more trades coming around the corner. Like, but I think Ethereum is interesting. You know, if you look at some of these other ones, Polkadot, for instance, we can zoom in on Polkadot. Polkadot's trying to have a little bit of a bullish run here. It has to break this area, $8.80. But if it breaks 880, I think you have a shot of going to maybe $10.80. So I mean, I think there is some near-term upside in some of these before that leg down. It's just a matter of your time frame. Like, not everyone can be a swing trader. If you're not a swing trader, just sit on the sidelines or dollar cost average in. I like literally get giddy when I look at charts like this, and anyone who doesn't believe in charts, I mean, this is just another great example of how amazing charts are. So this is the NASDAQ 100 chart. So this is basically all 100 stocks, mostly like Apple, Google, Microsoft, all those stocks. And what you can see is it was trading inside of this range. And then look at how just over the last couple days, it came up and it pierced this upper line and it touched this pink line. And what the pink line is a connection of this high, which was basically going back to the all-time highs on the NASDAQ, and this line. And then look at today. Boom. Right away, it falls back there. The NASDAQ's down a little over 1% today. So again, that's just kind of, I over the last few days in my stock service, I was accumulating kind of shorts on the NASDAQ, anticipating this, and the charts were just guiding me. It's a beautiful thing to kind of free yourself from the emotion and just say, charts, you tell me what to do. I'm not going to tell you. So I like the Qs as a short here. I think Apple is a really, really interesting short. I'll show you this. Again, just going to charts, these two. So if you connect this high here to this high and drop a perfectly parallel line down, you get this low and exactly that low. So now you have a reason, and basically that told you this was going to have a bounce. But what's even more fascinating is that if you take that parallel line and you do the parallel line right here, which connects through this high right to here, through this low right here, all these lows along here, look at what Apple just hit on the chart. So for me, I look at that and I say, okay, you hit here, you snapped almost a straight line up. Apple's ridiculously overbought. Chances are, what are you going to get? You're going to get a pullback on Apple. And that's exactly what I'm looking for. So I like a short on Apple here as well.